place. Your mind is in the right place. We're so glad you're on our side, and you are truly the new generation of enviropreneurs. And we hope this works. This is something we should all support. My God, she made taxes. She made us want to pay taxes. When's the last time you said, "Oh, I won't pay that tax"? What a wonderful tax to pay for. My goodness. Plastic tax. Brilliant. All right, with that being said, businesses are crucial in addressing the issue of plastic pollution, and hopefully more businesses take action soon. Now that we've heard from all of our wonderful speakers, we may now proceed to the Q&A, my favorite part. So, may we invite, of course, Sir Joel Palma, WWF Philippines President and CEO, Ms. Nanette Medvedpo, WWF Philippines' National Advisory Council member, and Hope in a Bottle founder and CEO, and Ms. Sarina Constantino, WWF Philippines' No Plastics in Nature Initiative project manager, the whole reason why we are here. All right. We have some microphones, so no need to get up. And fire away.
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm Shirley Chua from Business World. I wanted to ask Ms. Po, it's a very, your ocean cleanup fishermen in there is nice. But how have you started? I know you've piloted it in Marawi, but how many communities do you see doing it?
That's a good question. So we were just having this conversation with Joel, no? The ocean cleanup part, we will have to still pilot, no? Because initially our plastic cleanup drives have been inland. Because that's where the Hope schools, the Hope classrooms are all inland. So we like to work with the communities around our schools when we do that, because in the past, we tended to use the plastic for eco bricks. So our experience set is really inland. However, right now, our conversations are really more for coastal, right? So I think we were trying to talk to some of the folks in Tondo, especially around landfills, because, which I didn't say this in the presentation, but part of the reason why the Philippines kasi is a sachet economy kasi we're poor, di ba? So when we are co-processing, actually right now, almost all of our processed plastics are sachets. Because yun yung hindi forever, even in the landfill, when you go, the trash pickers, they get the plastic bottles, halaga kasi yun di ba? Yung glass, metals, they get all of that. Tapos yung mga sachet iniiwan nila kasi walang value. So we're trying now to talk to those people na andyan na rin lang kayo, kunin nyo na rin yung mga sachet, bilhin na lang namin sa inyo para mawala na. Diba? Those are laminates, basically plastic bags, yung mga single-use plastic bags, sachets, yun yung talagang walang halaga. There's no second life for that. That's the one we're trying to collect, or even straws. Diba? It's very difficult. So even pag beach cleanup, usually yun mga hindi recyclable items yun. So we want to try to get those, which is why the ocean cleanup would be really fantastic.
As a follow-up question for both WWF and you, Coca-Cola in their sustainability efforts is also trying to pilot where sari-sari store owners take back their plastic and sell it. So in your opinion, should the collection start from poorer communities in the Philippines for it to be sustainable and work?
Okay, I think there's two parts to that for me to answer, and Joel can go. I think this should be everybody's effort. It should not be isolated. I mean, definitely, the scale will come from, the base of the pyramid, diba? That's where you'll get the scale. But it's everybody's job to be responsible. And the truth is wealthier households can afford to care because they don't need to buy the sachets. They can buy alternative packaging, right? So if you look at the pyramid of responsibility, your first choice should always be, do I have to buy plastic? Kasi kung hindi, edi wag, di ba? Don't buy if you don't have to. Or if there is alternative, then please try to go for the more responsible alternative. And luckily, for higher income households, they can afford to make that choice. Now, the base of the pyramid, even if they care, they cannot afford to care because all they can afford is sachets. Diba? So what we need to do is target maybe different initiatives for different household income levels, if that's the way I should say it. But everybody should be involved.
Totally agree. It's not a one size fits all. The situation is so complex, it's not linear. And that's why, even with this initiative, campaign, program, movement, whatever you call it, don't only have as an NGOs, we're trying to reach out to the different sectors. And as you see earlier, as presented by Nanette, that solutions also come from business. So, as you mentioned, there's a Coke, there's a Unilever, or whatever. Everybody has, can sort of develop schemes that can work. And remember that Manila is different from Marawi or Luzon. So this is where innovation and trying to look at specific areas, how things can work, should be tested. And I think what's very important, and work with the local communities because they know better, obviously, than us. I think that's the bottom line. And it's not exclusive. We are very inclusive. And I think what's the inclusivity here is that we all agree that we have to do something about the problem. Zach?
So just to add to that, and I think you mentioned almost all of it, is that we work with, as it was mentioned a while ago, we work with different stakeholders. So it's really a multi-stakeholder approach. We're actually working with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources in pushing for the policy. We're working with the cities in terms of being plastic smart, with the businesses and also with the public. And I think that's what's important, really include everyone. And as Joel mentioned a while ago, it should be inclusive. And that's the direction that we are going for WWF.
Okay, thank you very much. More questions from the floor?
Can I just add one
Okay.
more thing to your point? No? Because of this whole plastic tax that the exchange is promoting, kasi actually we didn't even launch pa. Kayo pang nakuunang nakaalam. We were supposed to launch at the end of the year pa, so you're the first to hear about it. What we're trying to promote is, before kasi people could not afford to care, especially if you were buying sachets. That's the segment of the market na hirap talaga sila, di ba? But now with this plastic tax, this is voluntary, di ba? Kasi while government is still trying to figure out what to do, let's do something, di ba? So now, we are providing a mechanism that even if you are a sachet buyer, you can now afford to care because you will choose the companies who will say, even if you are just buying a sachet, me as a company, Company X, I am agreeing to offset all of my sachet footprint by paying a plastic tax of 1 or 2 centavos per sachet. So when you buy from me, I'm trying to do the right thing. So kung 5 lang yung company dyan na nagbebenta ng sachet, piliin mo na yung may voluntary plastic tax. Diba? Dati kasi cannot afford to care. Now we are creating a mechanism where everybody can afford to care. Diba?
Pwede magdagdag. Interesting yung discussion. Hindi, it's not, tama yung sinasabi niya na, that it's not an issue of the regulator over the regulated. But here we're trying to develop, and they're trying to develop systems that can be at the highest level. Imagine a plastic exchange. Parang ano yun eh. At one point parang nasa stock exchange yan. It's so complex that I, as a fisheries person, would not easily understand. But at the end of the day, how will this sort of very high-level complex system work and help the issues or the problems on the ground, sa tindahan level. No? So, yung value chain, I call it the value chain kasi as the net has always been emphasizing, there's value in it. And not only value for the environment by taking out, but there's also value of, you know, that thing called plastic, kaya nga meron plastic exchange. So, yun yung they're trying to, you know, that's why everybody's in para makapag-isip ng ideas on how to make it better. And there's no one single solution. There will be other solutions, and I think this is the beauty of the WWF. We're very exclusive. Sila na rin also works with everybody. In fact, for everybody na yung plastic exchange, no? Yeah. So, I think favorite term ko nga, you can only be exclusive by being inclusive.
Sorry,
Any more questions from the floor? Thanks, sir. Any more questions from the floor? Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Ted Claudio from WhatsApp.ph. Na-mention lang kanina na Pasig River is one of the biggest contributors of plastic pollution. So we see a lot of campaigns in the social media, yung Manila Bay Cleanup, it was so popular, it was so viral. But we don't see any campaign in educating and policing the communities along Pasig River that contributes to the problems of Pasig River pollution. So, does WWF or have any collaboration with like the local governments that to address this issue?
Well, kaya nga sila Mael was able to meet Mayor Isko, no? Okay naman. We're also meeting si Mayor Ibaez pa sa Paranaque. Sa Paranaque, no? And then, yung nakita niyo yung map kanina na marami dun sa Davao, we had a meeting with mayors. Nung pinresent namin, we're starting out in one municipality. Lahat ng mga mayors, they tinaas nila yung kamay to be part of it. So, we're barely starting. Sabi rin nila the figures that you've seen are great, pero it's just a start. No, pero katulad niya that's why it's also a campaign. Eh. Sabi ko nga, mahirap yung regulated over the regulator na parang dyan sa MMDA. Pagka walang MMDA, pwede ka mag-park. Pagka meron, hindi ka mag-park. Pero we're trying to change behaviors na hindi na kailangan ng MMDA. May MMDA o wala, don't park. Diba? I think that's a general principle.
Just to add to the Plastic Smart City. So currently po we're working with 10 cities po to be plastic smart. And on top of that, we're also working with DNR and pushing for the National Action Plan on marine litter. So meron po tayong efforts to have at the city level and may efforts din po at the national level.
Sir Ted, more questions? We're okay na. Questions from the floor? Sir Peter.
Sa presentation ni Ms. Sabi niya na sa ocean mag-start. So, di ba pwede rin naman mag-start sa rivers?
Hindi po siya mag-start sa ocean. I just presented that today po kasi yung pinag-uusapan natin is ocean debris. Pero ang clean up po namin, nag-umpisa talaga yan on land. Oo. Nag-umpisa kasi yan nung Hope nagbe-build ng mga classrooms sa may eco-bricks. Doon na kami nag-umpisa mangolekta ng plastic. Doon sa mga bayan kung saan kami nagpapatayo ng mga classroom. So, kumbaga, ini-expand lang namin yung thinking around that para magkaroon ng permanent collection. Kasi dati, nangongolekta lang kami para lang patayuin yung classroom. After that, wala nang collection. So what we want to do is, pursigihin namin all the time na lang, and then may pupuntahan ng plastic, di ba? Sorry po, hindi klaro kanina.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Jimmy 7. Jay.
Hello, good morning po. My name is Zay. I'm from GMA News and Public Affairs. Question ko is for WWF. So on the presentation, you've quoted that the Philippines has been identified as the world's third largest contributor to the plastics in the ocean. And this is actually based from JAMPEC's study. But that doesn't include the plastic waste import and export. The framework she used doesn't include those. And the Philippines actually saw a big jump from 2017 to 2018 from around 4,000 to 11,000 tons in plastic. So that's according to Trade Map statistics. You've mentioned on the press release about pushing for more internationally legally binding agreement under the Basel Convention. But I also wanted to know if you have other projects or initiative in addressing the plastic waste imports of our country.
Well, that's where we're working with DNR. In fact, yung United Nations Environment Assembly in Kenya, we had representatives coming from the Philippines. We're part of that. We're also including DNR, EMB, and we're pushing to do something about it. So, you're right, it's policy as well. It should be enabling to be able to address this situation. As mentioned as well, this issue has not been an issue 10, 15 years ago. And I think this is something that we have to look at. We're also making sure that you have the appropriate national, local policies that would be practical as it can be implemented. Because pag sinabi mo lang, okay, bawal na yan. Dami nating mga batas, bawal, hindi naman ma-implement. I think that's the last thing that we hope not to have. No? So, pinag-aaralan natin mabuti kasi nga hindi naman siya one size fits all. It's not linear. So, and that's why it's really very important that kami nga, we even advocate to have more local specific policies that will work in their respective areas before we really have identified a specific solution at the national level. But at the same time, we look forward to having an international policy that will be enabling. I think we have our friends from the DNR.
No, I want to speak to that point, if you don't mind, because that's a very, very good point. But I think what we need to understand is who is importing and why? Okay? Because if you look at the reason for importation, a lot of these imports, like yung nahuli sa Jario recently, yung kay Holcim, for co-processing yun eh. Diba? Now, our president got mad, no? Duterte got mad, bakit tayo nag-i-import ng basura? And that is correct because sa dami ng basura natin dito, bakit pa tayo nag-i-import pa? Diba? That is a very good point. Now, the question is, bakit tayo nag-i-import? That is the key. Because we are importing because we do not have efficient collection and segregation within our own LGUs. So we have to import it so that these companies can go process. Pero kung sa atin lang, kompleto naman yung basura natin, lahat ng klaseng kulay, baho, lahat meron, or the whole spectrum, di ba? We should not have to import. We should be able to recover. Because what's happening when you throw plastic in the landfill? It's as if you're throwing away petroleum. That's fuel. We don't need to import other people's basura. We can recover our own trash and get value out of it and stop polluting our mother. Earth is our mother. Be good to your mother, di ba? So thank you for asking that question. That's more of a policy issue. It's not about importing trash, whatever. The real root of the problem is that we do not have quality segregation within our LGU so that these importers do not need to import alternative fuels. We can source it locally. Di ba?
Just to add to that, so kaya sa Plastic Smart Cities natin, one of the interventions that we push for is establishing this recycling system. So para at least, for no plastics in nature kasi what we work on is reduction of the plastic production and also working in terms of making the waste management efficient or working in that matter. And regarding the basket convention, that's actually a win for Mother. Kasi WWF was able to support that in terms of pushing, there was this agreement wherein there's a requirement na ngayon for the receiving countries, there should be prior consent dun sa pag-i-import natin ng waste, which is a win for Mother.
May follow-up question lang po sana ako kay Ma'am Nanette. So, you've mentioned po na yung collections nga po natin ng trash, it should be more efficient here in the Philippines. And earlier on, you've talked about yung collection yung within schools. But we have a whole informal industry of waste collection. So we have waste pickers already. So I wanted to ask whether your organization, your company, is also already working with the informal waste collection industry here in the Philippines when it comes to recovery of trash.
Yes, so I don't want to mislead you, no? We are talking to some of the informal waste networks. I think you went to Tondo already, diba? So yung areas in Manila that have landfills, we would love to work with them because ika nga, 70% of our waste goes there, no? And the landfills are already overtaxed, no? And we can hopefully recover a lot from there. Pero it's very early stages. But that was in fact our first choice. We, I think you went to Tondo, Barangay 105, di ba? Kasi doon maraming mga trash pickers. So, kumbaga, additional SKU lang sa kanila, magdagdag ng mga sachet and things like that. By the way, if you want to look at a very interesting side point, very interesting model for plastic control, Rwanda has banned plastic bags for 11 years already. And it's sa kanila kasi high agriculture, 90% agri yun eh. So they want to keep it out of the soil, out of the waterways, and highly successful. So ibang saying nga, dapat i-model natin yun sa... But it is possible for, of course, they're much smaller than us, but it's absolutely possible to do it, and it has a wonderful impact on just the well-being of people. And to your question earlier that we're not policing, promote na ako ng Rwanda dito. Pero doon, people do not litter. It's not because pinopolice sila. It's a matter of national pride. Na, ano yan? You disrespect our country na magtatapon ka ng ganon. Sila mismo, they don't do it. It's really such a one, because you should have some pride in your, and they're poor, ha? It's easy to say that in Singapore, di hamak mayaman sila, they can afford to be clean. But Rwanda is what, 1/3 of our per capita GDP? And yet they're poorer than us, and yet they're able to do it. So it really requires a political will. And to Rovilson's point, people need to care. You can only police, a part of the people, but then you need to self-police. You need to care enough not to do it, di ba?
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions because we know may mga events pa kayo cover. Okay, Rhea from Rappler.
Hello, my question is, aside from improving the way communities collect and recycle waste, are there any other efforts from WWF or HOPE when it comes to educating the LGUs, when it comes to enforcing plastic bans? Just so we can avoid confusion that we're saying that not all plastics are evil, just the single-use plastics.
I'll start. Well, as we speak right now, we work in about 75 municipalities and cities in the Philippines and adding. Our paradigm is that solutions are not just coming from us, but it's also based on the ground, on what works with them. So we sort of always provide a scientific basis of things, like numbers, but the solutions actually are more than 70% also coming from them. So it's a process that we always have to do with them. So, but we always try to work with them so that we can flesh out things and provide solutions. Yes, we do. In fact, yung iba nga nagpapatulong sa amin there's a law in solid waste management law, di ba? Na dapat may sanitary landfill. Tawa ka kami ng tawa kasi puro landfill, walang sanitary. I think less than 10%, I don't quote me on this video. A lot less are compliant. Ano mo na lang kaya ito ang pinuposa kung ilang LG issue kailangan niya mag-demanda for not being compliant sa solid waste. It starts with that. You know, sabi ko rin kaya na you don't have sometimes to do new policies. Kasi minsan incorporated, pag tinignan mo yung mga existing laws natin, nandun na eh. Implement mo lang.
In the case of Hope kasi, although I completely agree with Joel, no, and ideally we find ways to remove single-use plastics altogether. But siguro for now, for your question na, I will wear the hat of manufacturers who use single-use, whether it's sachet or whether it's pharma, right? In fairness to those companies, I'm sure if there was a viable alternative, kasi sa ngayon, definitely for yung mga higher margin products, meron. Pwedeng gawing glass, pwedeng gawing aluminum, di ba, tin, whatever. But not all kasi have an alternative for their packaging. So maybe, for those who can remove single-use plastic from their supply chain, better. Pero yung mga hindi pwede, you must commit to do something with the post-consumer plastic because what makes plastic in our environment bad is not that plastic itself is evil. It's because we failed to figure out what to do with it after we use it. So naipon-ipon na kung saan, di ba? And manufacturers were so confident to use it without thinking about their responsibility after they put it out in the marketplace. Now, siguro nobody had that kind of foresight. But now that we know, we should take action. And in fact, if we can even work backwards, kunwari, may gusto mag-plastic neutral. If you're able to be plastic neutral this year, aspire to go back and get your naipon na plastic footprint. Diba? Naku, maraming magagalit sa akin ito. Pero, you know, if you really want to be responsible, I think there are certain segments of the market who will reward companies who do that. Diba? Ako, baka makabanggit ako ng name.
Pwede naman.
Okay, just add to that. Under the No Plastics in Nature initiative, we have the Plastic Smart Cities, and one of the requirements for them to enroll to the movement is an action plan to reduce at least 30% of their plastic pollution at the city level. And then to help them develop the action plan, we organize lake-based management training to educate them kasi ang dami ngayong misconceptions about addressing plastic waste and waste management in general. And also, in terms, just want to add about educating the general public, we have our National Youth Council, we have our environmental education team who help us in terms of creating this network of citizen scientists. Para at least we have the youth sector, we have the LGU sector, and we have the business sector. So it's really multi-stakeholder.
And of course, we have our ambassadors like Wilson Fernandez here who help us, you know, get to the masses and get them on board in our initiatives to reduce plastic pollution. Okay, last question. I-commit ko na to kay Ms. Mars. So, for questions after this, we may approach our panel. And ito na yung last for our Q&A.
Thank you. Good day, Ms. Mars from Your Happy Camper. This is for Ms. Nanette. I saw you last in Boracay. I think many years ago for a Century Tuna event. When you were still an active actress. Speaking, you know, you were a former popular actress. And have you had like any life-changing experience before? That's why you've become an environmentalist, a staunch environmentalist now. Because before you were, you can use your popularity and celebrity status to attract more friends of yours from the industry, to become really serious about campaigning against plastic and its, issues. And has there been any experience of yours before? What made you become you are right now?
When it comes specifically was a specific defining moment, no? Because I truly believe that everybody, to some level, is an environmentalist, right? Because even the most passive among us care whether we are eating things that are poisonous or drinking water that is bad for us or breathing air that will kill us, right? So to a certain extent, I think we are all environmentalists. I think the only difference was that perhaps when I was maybe, as you said, more popular and had a little bit more of a platform, maybe I was not, this is my fault, no? Maybe I did not realize the degree to which I had a platform that I could push an agenda, no? Kasi yun yung maswerte sa mga bata ngayon sa industry. They realize the value of their platform. Kasi kami dati hindi. There were very few, I think, of us who actually realized the value of that platform. So we didn't leverage it in ways that we should have. At least definitely for me, I did not. And I do feel bad about that, no? So now that I still have, how would you, yung lingering shimmer, wala nang hindi na popular eh. Yung tail end of popular. Kung ano man yung platform na meron ako ngayon, baka ganyan na lang. I will still try and hopefully not be a waste of space and do my part. If I'm able to convince just one other person to do a little bit better, then it's worth it, right? Now, for people who have a much larger platform, like Ru Wilson or the rest of the WWF ambassadors, they're wonderful, no? Heroes of the environment. So, to go to your point, I think we were all environmentalists at some point, and mine just woke up a little bit late. Diba?
Okay, thank you very much, friends from the media. Now, hand the mic back to you.
All right.